An ARC trooper charges at an army of battle droids alongside his battalion of clone troopers. Meanwhile, a clone commando with a small squad of 4 attempt the impossible task of destroying the Separatist mainframe. But which one is more elite? Well, today we're finding out. Well, to find that out, we first need to figure out what the difference is between these elite branches and your normal rank-and-file troopers. The ARC troopers were essentially the Army Rangers of the Grand Army of the Republic. Originally, the ARCs were specially designed to fit this need. However, later in the war, troopers who showed excellence on the battlefield could be promoted to ARC troopers, such as Fives and Echo. Before the Clone Wars began, the job of the ARC troopers was to, alongside hired mercenaries, train clone troopers, and identify those who showed potential. They also served as security for Commando. Such ARC troopers included Blitz, Colt, and Havoc. Similar to the ARC troopers, clone commandos were also genetically modified. However, each member of the 4-man squad of commandos was modified differently. The leader, the tech, the sniper, and the heavy weapons expert. A good example of this is the Bad Batch, however their modifications were more extreme. If the ARC troopers were the Army Rangers of the GAR, then the commandos would be its Navy SEALs, doing black ops behind enemy lines. The clone commandos and the ARC troopers had similar upbringings, but I think this one goes to the clone commando. Now that we know what ARCs and commandos are, let's talk about their loadouts. The ARC troopers originally used Phase 1.5 armor, which was essentially the prototype for Phase 2. It of course still had the iconic extra chest plate with the mounted extra ammo packs and the helmet-mounted rangefinder. Their arsenal consisted of dual DC-17 blaster pistols, and for more long-range engagements, the DC-15A blaster carbine, in addition to the DC-17s. ARC troopers occasionally used vibroblades as a close-quarters weapon. ARCs, like many other clones, used stun grenades or droid poppers. Also, while I was taking a screen recording of the ARC, I found this thing, and it looks kind of like the whistling birds that the Mandalorian uses, but I don't really know. And, tell me in the comments if you do know. And here's a couple ways that you can tell that it isn't quite Phase 2 yet. I also found this, other cylindrical object on the back of the ARC Trooper's belt, and I did some research, and apparently it's like a thermal detonator. I guess Stormtroopers have it too, Imperial and First Order. I guess I just never realized this before. I know that the ARC Trooper has kind of been a run-on loadout where I talk about its loadout, and I talk about 3 other things. I have one more thing to talk about, and this is actually regarding the ARC Trooper's loadout, and then we'll get on to the clone commandos. And that one thing is the ARC Trooper's backpack. My first thing to say about this is, what's inside of it? Because we never see the ARC Troopers open it. I don't think there's any, easy release ammo like the clone commando has. And I've been looking around on the internet. No, there's nothing anywhere about it, so I guess we'll just have to, base what's inside of it off of what's inside the Clone Commando's backpack. One of the main differences between the ARCs and Commandos was their armor. While the ARCs had heavily customized Phase 2 armor, the Commandos had the much bulkier Katarn-class armor, capable of taking multiple direct shots and contained a fast recharge personal shield. It additionally contained a Bacta injection system capable of almost instantly reviving the commando, a rebreather system allowing the commando to filter toxic gas, and a HUD showing tactical readouts, as well as personal and team vitals. Said HUD could be controlled with a series of blinks. Their helmets also included night and infrared vision, as well as boasting a seal capable of surviving underwater and in deep space. Unlike normal clone and ARC troopers, the clone commandos could only customize their armor with paint. Their primary weapon was the DC-17M interchangeable weapon system. Similar to most Republic weapons, the DC-17M used ion bolts in order to better combat droids. This weapon was custom made for the commandos and had 3 systems: the blaster rifle with iron sights, the sniper with a long-range barrel attachment and holographic sight, and the heavy, which was essentially a 3-round grenade launcher. The DC-17M, unlike most blasters, has a similar 30-round magazine with no overheating whatsoever. As a sidearm, the commandos used a DC-15S blaster pistol, which was also custom made for the commandos. The DC-15S actually never ran out of ammo. It could shoot 7 bolts and then recharged itself. This was especially useful if the DC-17M, their primary weapon, ran out of ammo. Finally, as a melee weapon, the commandos had a wrist-mounted vibroblade. Their backpacks were stocked with the quick-release ammo that I was talking about, med kits, and mission-specific gear. So, which one had better armor, ARC troopers or clone commandos? Well, that's kind of a more complicated than just yes or no answer. The ARC troopers had a much more versatile armor set, whereas the clone commandos had very heavy-duty armor that was pretty much only suited for black ops behind enemy lines, while ARC troopers' armor let them do a multitude of different mission types. So, while versatility is important, the clone commandos do take the edge once again. And now we're on to the final category, what missions they both took on. Starting out with the ARC troopers, like I said in the intro, their missions were mostly frontline work with larger battalions of clone troopers. However, they did occasionally only work with 1 or 2 other ARC troopers on slightly more stealthy missions. As for their actual missions, ARC troopers were sort of a jack of all trades, master of none. However, some of the specifics were, hence their name, behind enemy lines recon, as well as high-risk important extractions or assassinations, command and support roles. Yes, despite the fact that they were often only viewed as battlefield grunts with special armor, they did actually carry a very high rank, which allowed them to carry out roles like this: special tactics, as well as black ops, and direct Jedi support and advisory roles. So like I said, jack of all trades, master of none. And the clone commandos, while they did carry out a few less missions, they had a large array of ways to carry them out. What I mean by that is, while the ARC troopers could only use 1 or 2 strategies due to their resource limits, the clone commandos had almost unlimited Republic resources at their disposal. They could literally carry out the missions basically however they wanted. So basically, to summarize, they did less missions, but they could do them in more ways than the ARC troopers could. Some of those missions were sabotaging enemy lines, sabotaging their supplies, their bases, so that they just kind of collapsed. They also would help escort and extract important senators, politicians, or even civilians from dangerous places that were either attacked by the Separatists, going to be attacked by the Separatists, or had already been attacked by the Separatists, and they were trying to get them out to safety. And finally, Black Ops. And I know that that's a very large umbrella that just they kind of use for anybody who they want to sound cool, but they did Black Ops. Knowing this, I have concluded that the ARC troopers can do more missions, and while they might not have as many resources at their disposal to do those missions, they have a more larger variety. And while they were sort of just used as, like I said before, grunts with special armor, they were very, very elite and completed those missions very well. However, they did only have 1 win, whereas the Clone Commandos had 2 in our ranking system. So the clone commandos are more elite. And subscribe if you enjoyed or you learned something, and comment down below anything that I missed. Peace.